Hey, it's Dave here from systemhub.com and really excited. We've got an excellent interview lined up for you with a very good friend and coaching client of mine, Russell Kempster. So, Russell, thanks for your time.
G'day, Dave. No worries. Great to see you again.
Probably a really good way to start is to just have you share a little bit about the business, what it is that you do, and then I'd like to go through a little bit of the journey of us working together and what that's been like.
Yeah, sure. Look, I guess a little bit of background so people can understand the business. I spent 12 years as a police officer here in Victoria, and the last 4 years of that time I was instructing at the academy, so I was involved in training new recruits and assisting and helping to test applicants, people wanting to get into the police force. And I've since left the police force, and now I'm running promotion training with my wife Kerry, and basically what we do is we help people to go from police applicants to police officers. So we mentor them and coach them and help them prepare for each of the steps in that application process. And it's very competitive. It's a really competitive process, and so helping them get through that, doing the right things, and not making common mistakes that applicants might make. And the success rate's really good, and it's very rewarding. So, yeah.
And one thing I noticed when you first got in contact, if we go back a little bit before, sort of more than 12 months ago now, the business was actually already quite well established. I remember we were working together, and I was quite impressed by. You kind of had a lot of things cobbled together, but there was a lot already there. If we go back to that time just before we started working together, if you can tell us a little bit about where the business was up to and what you're offering.
I'd seen a lot of your videos already, so I know, well, I need to be doing that and I should be doing this. And I think you're right, Dave, I had a lot of those things sort of in place already, but just not properly. And the plumbing wasn't connected properly. I had little bits and pieces here and there. And I guess it looked like a bit of a DIY kind of project. I was doing as much as I could, things that I thought that needed to be done, but it just wasn't all connected properly. And so, I felt I was very motivated. I felt like I had a lot of things in place already, but I knew I'd got to the point where I needed some help. I just needed some help to put all the plumbing together properly. And I knew I was at that point where the business was ready to grow to the next stage. And I didn't want to mess that up, so it was time to get some real help and take it seriously. So.
And there's probably any number of people on the internet saying, "I can help you, I can help you." So how did you go? You saw some of the videos and the work that I do put out there. Like what made you think, okay, well, let's work with Dave?
I just felt like I'd connected with you, even though you didn't know me from bar soap and we hadn't spoken. There was just a connection there. I just liked certainly the content and what it was that you were saying. It made a lot of sense. And it was just natural and relaxed. And I think what's so strong about what you do, Dave, is you're Dave. You're just yourself. There's no BS. There's no private jet out the back and the little laptop with all the cash spewing out of it and all of that sort of garbage that you see. And so it was down to earth, it was honest and genuine, and it was bloody good content. The messages were good, it made a lot of sense, and I knew when the time came for me to take it to the next level and get some help, get some coaching, that you were the person I was going to contact. And when that time came, we made contact and haven't looked back since. So off we went. So.
It was an interesting time for me at that time, because it was really when I had the recognition of the importance of systems, having done it for a long time. So I just talked about, hey, I'm going to work with a small group of people with regards to System Hub, and it was the early days of that, because I remember that's when we started talking. I'm just trying to go back in time. You outreached to me, it was just before Christmas. You might have sent me an email or something like that. And then we caught up in person.
We did, Yeah, it was just before Christmas. We'd finally stopped running the last of the regular sessions that we do on the weekends. I'm looking forward to a break. We went down to the beach with the family, and I remember saying to Kerry, next year, January, first thing into it, we need to get a bit more serious about the business, take it to the next level, and I'd like to contact Dave. So I'll just send him a quick email. So we sent an email off to the beach. We went to maybe catch up next year, and didn't expect to hear back from you until after Christmas, after the New Year. And before you know it, we were communicating via email, and then we had a chat over the phone, and well, we were both down at the beach at that time. So do you want to catch up for a coffee? So we did, and it was terrific. That was sort of probably our first session, our first chat together was at Christmas, just over 12 months ago. So
I think in that first session, that's when we kind of started talking about some of the challenges going on in business, and it's one of those things. No matter what stage you're at, there's always challenges, and new challenges keep on popping up. Were there any that you can think of? That we were working on initially.
Yeah. Look, there were a few things, and that was part of that first process, was assessing where are we at, what are the things we need to focus on, and start moving forward. But the biggest challenge I was having at the time was that the business was growing, and I was getting a lot more pressure from customers for my time, for that one-on-one time. And that was really starting to take its toll. I was getting to the point where I was just getting a bit overwhelmed with the time I had to put in, and I needed some way, some mechanism to be able to still provide some personal feedback to individual clients, over 250 plus clients, but in a way that was manageable, and it was starting to get a bit out of control. And that was probably the main thing that I was struggling with at the time we first got started.
Were there any big things that we implemented that you can look back on and go, when we put that into place, that actually had a ripple effect, or that had a big impact?
Oh, gee, it feels like 10 years ago. There's so much that we've done in just a 12-month period. That plumbing, I keep calling it plumbing, but it was a little disjointed, so things flow much more easily now. The inquiries flow in nicely, the customer care when they first sign up, autoresponders, and all of that flows really nicely now. But the biggest thing was how do I still provide that personal feedback and personal coaching to people who want it without being completely overwhelmed? So we ended up, at the time I actually had this structure where they were paying a monthly fee. So we had that recurring income in place, which was fantastic. And your suggestion was, well, could we have a second monthly recurring option for people that was a little bit more advanced, maybe a pro membership, and where there was some sort of avenue for people to get that personal feedback. And the idea was spot on, and that's what we started working on, and then eventually we nutted out the detail of how it was going to work. That one structure, that one change did two really important things. One, the increase in income from that new membership more than covered my coaching fees, so no matter what happens now, I'm always ahead from that regard. But second, it took away that pressure, because now I had somewhere to deflect that sort of call for individual attention. I could deflect that into a proper structure where I could deliver that training properly. So that was the biggest issue before we got started. We quickly resolved that.
It's almost like one thing that I'm starting to recognise as you grow a business. Every problem in business really is solvable with some sort of system. That's the way that I look at it. It's kind of like if you're getting too much email, if the business owner is the bottleneck because everything's going through to them, it just means you haven't got some system or process to address that concern. So exactly. In the sessions that we have together, it's about talking through identifying what those problems are, and then going, well, what's the solution that fixes this bit? And then it's a triage thing. You kind of figure out, well, which thing do we need to work on first that's going to have the biggest impact? Because it's easy to start writing systems for really unimportant things like how you take out the trash. Some things don't need systems written about them.
Exactly.
And that's, I think what I've enjoyed most is seeing the action that you take. And I know you don't feel like you take that much sometimes, and you get busy and life gets in the way. But we talk about things, and then a week or two later, you've got that in place.
And I think that's the great relationship that we have, is that you're the coach and I'm the student. You have the knowledge and the experience, and I want it. And I mean, there's been rare occasions where you said, you're doing this, and when I look back, I probably needed that. But rarely is it, this is what you need to do. It's more about helping me understand what's going on and identifying, that is a better way to do it. But it's absolutely about those systems. It's about the structure. And when I think of the way that you coach me, it's never about the dollars. You never even ask, I don't think, how much money do you want to make? It's about getting everything set up properly so the business can do its thing. And obviously the income, the dollars, is just a consequence of what's happening within the business. But you're almost like a builder or a plumber. You're very much focused, and I can sense that, very much focused on working down at a structural kind of level. And I hope people listening might make sense of that, because it's hard to put real detail on what I'm talking about. But everything runs much more smoothly now because that flow's there, that structure is in place, the plumbing's in place. No, it's going great guns, and still lots of upside to come. So.
It's two things that really became apparent in the work that we were doing together. One is identifying scale within business. When we think about building the plumbing and everything like that, it's always thinking about what happens if we 10x, 100x what's coming through, what's going to break. And we've had that discussion where it's kind of like, well, what's that next piece that breaks first? Because if you build capacity, people sometimes think that the problem oftentimes is getting enough clients in, but you've got to build the capacity. And then you can start to think about, well, how can we turn on the tap elsewhere? And then the other one I remember we talked a bit about was around optionality, where we talked in terms of when you're growing the business, you want to make sure that you have options to be able to pivot. If you niche down too much, you can own, be that big fish in a small pond, but you also need to think in terms of, if you niche down too much, you then start to put yourself into a corner. If regulation changes, rules change, something like that, you're stuck. So as you build that base, you might start off down here, but then you want to always move into levels of optionality and thinking, okay, well, and we talked about this, some strategic moves for you might be around, okay, well, now we own this space. Well, what is the bit we do really well in here? Well, it's interviewing skills. Well, interviewing skills is probably applicable to all government-related jobs. So now you can potentially, a pivot would be to chunk up there, and then that creates more optionality if something goes wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we first started talking about exactly that, looking for those other opportunities so that we're not so tight in one very, very tight niche. And it is a very tight niche. What do? I train police applicants. It's a pretty tight niche. And so since we've spoken last, over that Christmas period and so on, that's exactly what I've been working on after our discussion about it. And so I've now modified the training a little bit so that I could be marketed to people who are going to be interviewed for a police position anywhere in the country, and so that's pretty exciting, because it now gives us another income stream, another area to move into. So we're not sort of trapped in that little tight niche, because you're right, if something goes wrong, if they change the process entirely or whatever might happen, to think that the whole business could be cut off at the knees is pretty scary. So looking forward to moving into that other area, just to build up that stability for sure. So.
The last thing I just wanted to touch on as well, to get your thoughts around the systems and the processes, because we talked a lot about that, and I mean you still are, but a lot less. It's so central to the business, and that's what we've progressively tried to do: take pieces off your plate so we can free you up to where you add the most value, which is the innovation, the creation, and that's where you're adding the most value. I don't know if there's some things you could speak to around some of the systemization or documentation and handing some of those responsibilities off, because a lot of business owners struggle with it. I still struggle with it. It's a constant battle.
It is. And when we first started chatting 12 months ago, I was doing everything, and I mean everything from everything. I don't know how else to explain it. And so now we've got a video editor. So when we're doing videos, I just Dropbox it and he does it, and it turns up, looking 10 times better than I could do it. And it takes him nowhere near the time, and it's better quality. So we're not editing video anymore. My wife Kerry's now, more formally, I suppose, come into the business and has a role of sort of customer contact, I suppose. So managing our emails. We have a regular weekly email. Our customers will book in to come to a training session. She manages all that for me. So she's sort of taken a lot of the workload away from me, which means I can get back to that training, coming up with new products and innovation and so on. We've set up a lot of autoresponders, that plumbing again, instead of replying to people. I mean, we just set it up to happen automatically. And now the marketing side of things too has improved. So absolutely, the systems alone have taken the need for me to do everything away. And of course, bringing my wife Kerry in to help hands-on has been a massive help too. So we're probably getting to that point now where maybe, and you've again suggested this, is it time to look at maybe moving Kerry up to the next level and bringing someone else in at that sort of starter level, so to speak, so they can handle some of the repetitive tasks that Kerry doesn't really need to be doing, and I certainly don't really need to be doing. So, yeah, we're approaching probably phase 2, I guess. When I first approached you, I knew I was at a level where it was time to jump, to go up a level, and we're probably back at the same position again, but at a new level now. So, yeah, we're definitely growing, progressing, and importantly, one of the first things you said to me, I think it was one of the very first things, what would the perfect work day look like for you if it was finished, if your business was set up the way you want it? And I can feel we're getting closer and closer to that. And I'm now actually thinking about that a lot, really, really clear about what we want it to look like. It's not having 10 stores everywhere and so on. So we're really clear about what we want out of it, and we're nice and clear about going in that direction. So we've got some structure, we've got some direction, and that's a huge different mindset to when I first approached you, because I was just going around in circles. Which way do I go? So there's still a lot of upside, which is exciting. So,
yeah. And now, I suppose you're going to get the benefit of hindsight, because there is a level of risk when you're working with someone, and how do you find someone that's right to work with? I don't know if there's anything that you could say, having worked with myself and the team for 12 months or more now. If someone was kind of thinking about it, whether it's through System Hub or the coaching, I'm kind of pulling myself back a little bit from now. I think probably trying to move, again, thinking about scale. So I'm kind of moving more into the System Hub world, but you've probably got more insight there than most.
Yeah, oh look, I think if someone's watching us chat now, then you're like I was 12 months ago. You're at that point where you know that you need to do something, you maybe need to get some help, there's an opportunity to take it to the next level. And look, if you go down a path and it doesn't work out, just back up and go down the next path. I mean, it's not like you're risking the universe to try some coaching for a short period of time. And the beautiful thing about working with you, Dave, it was just as we go. There was no sign this contract for 5 years or anything ridiculous like that. So the risk was really minimal. I'd already done the research. I'd already done the homework. I was watching other videos like this one. I was happy that Dave's the guy for me. And I would say, don't mess around, act on that, because you're obviously thinking about it. You've come to that point where something inside you knows that it's time to do something. And if you don't take that leap of faith, in 12 months' time, you'll be watching the same videos again and you won't have progressed very far. So, look, it's not much of a risk really, but take the plunge. As I said, our first problem was solved within the first month, and that not only solved the problem but created that additional income, which more than covers ongoing coaching. So it's a win-win. So if you're thinking about it, you're watching a video like this, you know that it's time. So just do it. Just do it. Don't mess about. Just do it. So.
Thank you so much
for your
time.
Great to catch up again.
Appreciate working together. Like I said, it's such a pleasure to talk with someone and then see them implement some of the stuff and get the result. Like for me, that's the best. So thank you for that.
No worries. It's been great. Thanks.
And if you guys want to find out a little bit more about what we're working on, you can head over to systemhub.com. And if you want to join the Victorian Police, you can head to...
Come and see us at primemotiontraining.com.au.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Thanks, Dave. Good on you. Thanks, mate. Cheers.